Welcome to TAMA Talks, brought to you by the Torrance Art Museum Advocates. I'm Jeannine Madden, current TAMA President, and I'd like to thank you for watching. Today, we will be discussing work which is currently on view in the main gallery at the Torrance Art Museum in a show called Risky Business, a Painter's Forum, curated by Marie Thibeault and Max Presneill. As concerns and expectations of AI begin to dominate the narrative in our increasingly technologically dependent society, some artists reply with the personal mark, risk-taking, chance, the unknown endpoint, the illogical, or the mystery to produce a reflection of a living, very human experience. This exhibition is on view through May 4th, 2024. The museum is located at 3320 Civic Center Drive in Torrance, California, and is open Tuesday through Saturday from 11 a.m. to 5 p.m. Admission is free and donations are gratefully accepted. This discussion is being recorded and will be posted on our YouTube channel with all of our previous TAMA Talks. You can access it from our website, www.tamadvocates.com. We are joined today by artist Sharon Barnes. Sharon is a Los Angeles-based artist who creates mixed media paintings, sculptural works, and installations. Her large-scale painting and sculptural installation is currently on view at the Tom Bradley International Terminal at LAX. In addition to her piece in Risky Business at the Torrance Art Museum, she also has work in the U.S. Embassy in Tbilisi, Georgia. Sharon received her MFA in Fine Arts from Otis College of Art and Design, and she has been an undergraduate student of renowned artist and historian Samela Lewis. So thank you so much for taking the time to join us today, Sharon. I'm very excited to hear more about the piece that you have at the TAM. And let me navigate to that because I have a more close-up close-up image of your piece. Mm-hmm. One Sweet Song for a Carolina Maroon. So, of course, we're going to ask a little bit about the title and how it relates to the piece, but we would love for you to give us just a little walkthrough of the work itself, its inspiration, medium, how long it took. All you could tell us about it would be great.
Okay, well, first of all, thank you. It's wonderful to be in conversation with you. And it has been quite a joy to be a participant in Risky Business, a painter's forum. And I was also honored to be on the panel discussion, which was really lively and interesting, I think. And we talked about the risks that artists take. And I think this piece exemplifies some of that. My work is painting, but it's not only made of paint. It's a conglomeration of other materials. There's burlap in this, and paper smoke soaked in sweet tea. There's ink. And the surface is built up. I call them my thick-skinned paintings. And they kind of speak to culture and social ideas. And they often speak about music because I was formerly involved as a songwriter in the music industry. So a lot of my work kind of gleans from music. And this particular piece, the title of it, One Sweet Song for a Carolina Maroon, is dedicated to the drummer, jazz drummer and activist, Max Roach. And Max Roach was born in this place called the Great Dismal Swamp in the Carolinas. And that whole area was a haven during the time of the slave trade, because some of the Africans who were able to get away after disembarking, would run into that swamp because not that many people wanted to follow them because of the denseness of the swamp and the alligators and snakes that inhabit the
Exactly,
place.
exactly. Wow.
Yeah, so they would find refuge in there. It was they too bad. I'm not gonna go run in there and catch them. And also the indigenous Americans who lived in the area would often hide in there too. So they would form alliances and develop these communities. And they're called and the Africans who were able to escape were termed Maroons.
Ah,
And there's also a Maroon culture in Panama. I went on residency in Portobello in Panama, which is inhabited by a strong Maroon community of former escaped Africans and the indigenous native people who, you know, commonly called Indians. But
okay. Yes.
that's what it's about. So my work kind of gleans from historic context and my own culture as an African American. And I'm also part Cape Verdean, so
Oh,
I often will bring those histories into it, which are very similar to the African experience because it comes out of the slave trade. So that's kind of the gist of this piece. I like using a lot of different materials, and sometimes the work will hang off the canvas plane, the surface of the canvas, to
yes.
kind of give it a dense, like I say, thick-skinned, almost an embodiment. Because even though I'm an abstractionist, um, I can reference the body without literally depicting it. So it has this kind of thingliness about it. And the sides of this you can't see here, but the sides also are adhered with burlap. So when you look at it, it kind of presents itself it has a presence and an embodiment that you can't really see from this particular photograph. Sorry, I couldn't have given you a photo of the actual installation piece.
No worries.
That would
No
have been
worries. Well,
great.
one of the reasons why we have continued to do these talks is
Mhm.
because they sort of serve they serve two purposes, and one is for those folks who, for whatever reason, cannot get to the museum. So, like me, I'm a little far away, but also um, it gives a little deeper insight for the time that they do get to go to the museum. If they watch it before, well, then they get to get a deeper insight of the piece, and then if they watch it after, then they get a different perspective of the piece. Because one of the hardest things, I think, particularly with work like yours, and much of the work, to be honest, that's shown at the Torrance Art Museum, is that upon first look, it becomes just, it's an image, and without the context behind it, that, to be honest, is very difficult to fit on a little label.
Mhm.
It's really nice to be able to have the artist who created it speak directly about it. um, so there is a three dimensionality about the pieces. It's about this piece, and it sounds like when we were talking in your bio about the sculptural aspect, that it's almost like a sculpture in a painting.
Absolutely. I've been investigating that kind of blur between mediums for quite a while now, because I do make sculptural works that are kind of hybrid works. They're not made of traditional materials. They kind of pull in kind of a variation of assemblage. Um, but they speak to the paintings and the kind of objectness that they both share. Um, So that really intrigues me to be able to work across mediums like that is it's really fascinating.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, we would definitely encourage folks who are watching this to head out to the museum to see your piece. It's an interesting show in that it's almost like a show that would normally be in gallery two that tends to focus on, and not really, Max would listen and say that's not always the case, but you know, the main gallery pieces typically are all are very different. So there's sculptural pieces and audio visual pieces and you know, every different medium that can be explored in a particular show is often on view. And so to have such a painterly kind of show where they're all hanging at once, and like you had said before we started to record, the curatorial aspect of hanging pieces that have, you know, Max has a gift for being able to pull out certain aspects of a piece and situate them next to other pieces, so it becomes a very intuitively flowing process when you're walking through the gallery. And so
Yes, and that's very noticeable. It was for me. For me, when I came into the gallery and saw the way that he installed everything, it really did exemplify what you just said. He has a gift for that.
he really, really does. And so I think it's a testament to also the fact that this kind of artwork is shown in Torrance,
Mhm.
and the variety of artists that it brings in, and the quality of not only the work but just the artists themselves in how they can express what they're thinking into something visual that others can appreciate.
Mhm. Mhm.
So now I noticed when we were talking in your bio, you talked about you have a piece. Is your piece at LAX right now?
It is, and I'm so sorry I didn't give you a slide of that because it's really a beautiful piece. It's in a 40-foot wide case uh, that sits back off into a wall in a corridor. And there's a painting that's 20 feet wide, done in 3 panels. And again, it's like this piece in that it incorporates both paint and collaged materials. But it's based on my familial heritage of being a fifth generation Californian and how my family's histories of coming to the state are kind of integrated into the histories of California and all of the peoples who migrated. My family were were Black people who had gone to Canada through the Underground Railroad. And when California was admitted to the Union as a free state, they saw it as an opportunity. So um, my third great grandfather, Arthur Talbot, came to California. Um, and then another relative from DC came to California. And so I'm a fifth generation Californian, which is very rare.
Yes, absolutely,
Yeah, yeah,
absolutely.
mid
So
1800s they were coming. So
okay, and the piece you have in Georgia, how did you get so far? How did you get to have a piece so far away?
well, the U.S. State Department has an art and embassies program, and they look for artists to who have work that can be installed in the embassies to, make it beautiful there. And embassies all over the world. And I was always intrigued by that and hoped one day to be able to have my work in one of the embassies. And I was contacted by one of the Art and Embassy's curators, and I was just thrilled. She chose a piece. The ambassador to the Republic of Georgia wanted California artists and as many women artists as possible because the ambassador is a woman.
Female, yes, yes.
And the curator found my work and invited me to participate. They chose a painting that is about 9 feet wide. And it's again like this, it includes paint and materials that are built on the surface. And I'm just really honored to be a part of the program.
Wonderful, wonderful. I think that it's such a unique opportunity that, to be honest, before you mentioned it, I'm not sure a lot of people knew existed. So how extraordinary is
Mhm.
that? Um, I will, I will include um, when I post this, so it'll go up as a YouTube video on our website. But what I can do is I can post a link or include it in the last slide to your website if you'd like, particularly if
I
those
would
pieces.
love that.
Sure, if
Sure.
those pieces
Mhm.
are included, I'm happy to put a link to your website, and I will do it on our social media as well, so people can take a look at some of the other work that you've done. And we really appreciate this is a lovely opportunity on Fridays before the general public is allowed to view the pieces or the exhibitions. The Torrance Art Museum Advocates, our group, as well as the Torrance Art Museum docents, so the lovely folks that sit at the front desk and help people get around the museum, have an opportunity to have a tour of the curator-led tour of the exhibition. And sometimes artists will join Max or Sune or whoever's giving the tour, and will do exactly what you did. We'll stand in front of their work and tell everyone about it. And again, what it does is it just brings a depth and an appreciation to the piece that, to be honest, is really difficult to glean without that background information. So I
Especially abstraction.
absolutely, and with abstract art, abstract contemporary art, I think that people just don't know. A lot of people who aren't either don't have an attraction to it or are not immersed in the world really don't even know where to begin.
Mhm.
And so I think that oftentimes they're quite surprised when there is such a rich background behind every mark that is made on the piece, and every, like you said, every filament of fabric and all of the different components, they all have meaning. And
Right.
it's really hard to understand that unless there is an opportunity to either read about it with a QR code to your website, or have a recorded audio piece of the artist talking about their work, whatever it might be. So that's why I wanted to continue to do these little short episodes, so that it can help people better understand the work they're looking at the museum.
Well, this is great. And I really thank you for the opportunity to say a little bit about the work and help people understand it. In the end, I really want to stimulate people's emotional sensitivity because I think there's a certain intuitive sense that people can use when viewing abstraction like this, that aside from whatever I might say about what it means to me, that
Yes.
they still enjoy it, just using their own intuitive senses of investigation and contemplation.
Mm-hmm.
That's
And
what
I
people.
think in
Mm.
this piece in particular, it's definitely one of those pieces of art that you want to be standing in front of to do that, because again, a
Yes.
image, while captivating, I'm sure does not just
Right. No,
yeah,
the photo
do it
doesn't do
justice.
it justice because you
Right.
really can't. It's hard. Photographs flatten out the image, and this is not a flat piece.
And
You know,
tell us, remind us again
yeah.
how large the piece is.
That's 60 inches by 60
Oh,
inches.
so quite large.
So
Okay.
it's like 5 feet by 5 feet.
Okay, fantastic. And I think from some of the images that I saw at the opening. Oh, and I
Mhm.
wanted to ask you about the panel discussion too. Some of the images at the opening, these are very, very large pieces of work. So
Yes, a lot of large work is in this show. Really, it's a great, beautiful show, really.
good. I'm so happy to hear it. And unfortunately, I will be in California, but I arrive on the day it close. I think I arrive on the day it closes. So
Oh, too
I
bad.
know, I
Oh,
know.
oh well.
Um, Tell us briefly, we don't have panel discussions for every exhibition.
Mhm,
Um, and I saw some images that, it's a pretty well received
mhm,
opportunity to engage.
mhm.
What kind of questions did folks ask about the work to the panel, or was it a set of prepared questions that Max kind of offered to the panel?
Well, he did go over what the curator's interest in assembling these kind of works um, because of the emergence of AI generated art, and which differs so greatly from all of the works in the show because there is the mark of the human hand, there is the personal touch, there is the love that evidence of the artist's intent in the work. And the works also exemplify some of the risk taking that we undergo. Um, in this particular work, I tried new materials. You don't always know if they're going to work, but you go ahead with it. You go ahead fearlessly into the work and to try things and see what can be born. And the panel discussion was a lot about that and the artists who make handmade art, whether it be visual art or the human making of a film or the human making of uh, of dance or all of the other things where human beings are actually involved in. Um, how does that differ from an AI generated work? And we
Right.
were talking about how there's the human touch is so evident in all of these works in the show, which is a beautiful thing.
Absolutely. And I think too, as AI becomes more main, in the mainstream,
Mhm.
I think that people also need to remember that the impetus for AI always does typically start with a human putting in some sort of parameter for them to come up with whatever. So there is that aspect of it too. So far, there's no AI generated AI.
Yeah,
To my
yeah,
knowledge. So, and I'm sure that that's coming down the pike. But at the same time, I think it is definitely, particularly when it comes to abstract art, uh, to
it
hear
is.
the stories behind it
Yeah,
is what separates it from an artificially generated
yeah.
whatever image, like you said, song,
Right.
whatever it might be, poem.
Well, it can be, it can be another art form in the hands of artists who want to use AI,
Yes.
but it isn't this.
True, and it's not, and like
Yeah.
you said,
Uh-huh.
it in and of itself is a risk, right?
It is.
So,
Yeah.
all right. Well, I'm going to navigate to my last slide, which is just a thank you so much for coming out today and joining us. And what I will do is modify this slide, and I will go ahead and put a replacement of it on the end. And then
Okay.
that way we'll have your email address embedded in it.
Perfect.
So
Yeah.
thank you so very, very much.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure, and I really appreciate these talks, and I think it's important to hear the artist's voice. So I thank you very much.
Absolutely.